Hi Mads.
Hi Nicklas.
Welcome to the 4th episode of the Elsewhere story. In the 3rd episode we talked about 2019 and now we're sitting here in 2021 and now we want to talk about 2020. In January we had a bit of an ambivalent start because first off we had a movie to premiere with Quang. And the director for the theater in Herning, he agreed to let us show the movie in the local theater. But at the same time, Kenneth, Quang's good friend, who was also in the movie, he sadly passed away the 24th December in 2019. So January started with a funeral, but also we wanted to continue and build upon the movie and make it better to honor his memory. So during January I was in a hurry to finish the Quang film. And what were you doing in January?
I still had a little while to go before I started at the Media College Denmark on the ground course. So in that time I made a small stop motion film, and that was really what got me started, and also it was really to prepare myself for the ground course as well. But then in mid-January I started on the ground course at Media College Denmark, and there, as some of the very first things that we learned were just really the basics of filmmaking, such as how to use cameras, how to use lighting, and how you use the sound equipment, and also really just all around editing on computers.
From January going into February, I was still working on the movie. And we also met new collaborators and we were starting to form this new art collective called Art Tetra, which consisted of 2 new people, a person called Tony, who made music for a production company called Nanovision, and Lars, who had this company called Pro Sound and Light, who made concert and event lighting. I got a call from Sisse. You might remember her from the first episode of the Elsewhere story. She was the main character in our final film at Media College Denmark. She was now working at Upton in Aarhus. And Upton is a company that invests in solar energy, and they have this neighbor company, like a twin company called Consenton, that invests in real estate. They wanted us to make an employee branding video. And finally we were making this cozy little commercial for someone called Bird, who had this company called Tasty Thai by Bird, and they wanted us to film like this one-day cooking school.
Welcome to alle sammen. Come in for.
สวัสดีค่ะ
Yeah.
The first thing that we did in February was taking a field trip with the entire Media College to Berlin, where we were tasked with our first practical assignment, which was to go around the city and make a 30-second video of how we really wanted to show Berlin. And that was an insanely creative experience for me.
Meanwhile, I've been looking at this place in Quebec here where I had my apartment. And I've been looking at this house, which was in Quebec. It just looked like it had so much possibility to make it into something that we could use, like a studio or something, because it had so many rooms and it was just as cheap as the one office space that we had in Herning. So I was already working on moving us from Birk in Herning to here in Quebec. I had a lot of help from friends and family to shine up the place and make it ready and livable for us to move into it and start working here. But as me and my family were moving stuff into the house here, something happened and we heard something on the news that just changed the whole year.
city of Wuhan has 11 million inhabitants, but the new virus has turned it into a ghost town.
Japan cancels a series of rugby matches in the country for fear of coronavirus.
The coronavirus has been named. The virus will henceforth go by the name of COVID-19.
世界中で1000人以上が死亡し、4万3000人が
La
感染
Lombardie
した
et
コロナ
14
ウイルスが
provinces
挙げられてい
d'Europe
ます。
du
この
Nord
エピソード
la direction
を
permanente
マイナス
de
技術が
le
現在 Coronavirusen er kommet til Danmark.
In March, we had our very first, big assignment, which was to make a small short film about continuity in movies. And continuity, of course, filming the same scene but doing it in different angles. And here we were tasked with, of course, using some various different products that the school had provided us for us. And that was incredibly fun to make. That same night, which of course was March 11th, there was a massive announcement on the news that something had broken loose in the country.
The corona pandemic had just spread throughout the whole world and new restrictions were emerging. But now, all of a sudden, we couldn't show our movie because it was really an immersive experience in the theater, so we couldn't just release it online. All of a sudden, we didn't have any commercial jobs, we didn't have a movie to show, and we didn't have a venue to show it. We didn't have much left, so we had to be flexible and rework everything we did.
First, when the pandemic had broken out in the country, I was a bit bored, to be honest, because we had been sent home from the media college, and since we weren't really getting online classes either, so I decided to make a stop-motion film to promote the act of washing hands and sanitizing them, a bit of a humorous commercial, really, about how you should be careful when you are around others and don't cough in your hands but do it in your arm instead. And that was something that really kept me going during those first couple of weeks into the crisis.
We got a phone call from someone called the Jutland School of Singing, and they wanted to hire us to make a program because they were trying to set up this huge arrangement in the middle of the Herning City Square where they were supposed to have a lot of choir singers and a big audience. The corona restrictions just put a halt to all that, so they had to do something else, and they decided to make a television program out of all the things they had assembled to that arrangement. Supposed to be sent on the Liberation Day here in Denmark at the 5th of May. And that's why they came to us. They wanted to know if it was possible for us to do it in that short amount of time. Surprisingly enough, we actually made it, and we finished that 2-week project, and we filmed 5 music videos in a day. Can you tell us about how did it actually go?
I think to starting out the year, I had high hopes that this would be the year that the real film career would begin, and this was going to be probably one of the best years of my life, you might say. It then evolved into being, a frightening year with the arrival of the corona pandemic, and I think that I was also a bit scared at first and seeing how this would develop, and I honestly didn't think that maybe even elsewhere could withstand something like this. But of course, with the Liberation program and also the coming assignments that we got afterwards, I felt that the year actually started to evolve a lot more like a better one for me, because I think that even though I have seen so many people and businesses around the country shut down with all the things that has been happening, I think we have kind of just went through the mist, really, and just the year for me especially has been one of the best years of my life so far, because I found out a lot more about myself, what I could do, and I think it just was an insane experience, yeah.
It was also a collaboration with the Team Theater, Team Teatret it's called in Denmark, which is this local theater. And this was our first chance to actually direct and get paid to direct and use paid actors. And finally, it got shown on the television. So it was kind of a big deal for me, just getting to film music videos professionally and directing professionally. And the thing about this Liberation project was that it was literal for us. As an indie production company, we actually felt liberated and felt that this was our first big paid job. Also, Bloom wanted to make a music video for her new song, Nowhere.
Hold on, baby. There's no rush, no sorrow. Just let me be free.
Because our Artetra Kwang movie was postponed, I went out with Kwang and started shooting some new stuff because he had made a new artwork called Wild World. And through Kwang, I got contacted by someone called Jonas Fransten, who was a carpenter. And I started filming over the summer. Then we reached the second half of the year. We went into August and you came back to Elsewhere in these new offices. And this is where we started filming the Elsewhere story. Originally, we were supposed to film in August 2019, but because of the film we were making with Kwang, we postponed it for a year. So August 2020, you and I started filming the first and second episode. And also, I was talking to a new company in Lind called Nicklas. Can you tell us a little about that?
Nicklas is a toy company which is based out in Lind, right outside of Herning. And they have made a lot of these high-end dolls. There are mice, there are rabbits, there are bunnies, we have rhinos and dinosaurs, any kind of animal you really could think of, really, they were making. And that's really what I was walking into with this big company. But also I had a lot of experience with Nicklas in the past because my mom had sold the products when I was younger. So now actually working for this company was a huge thing for me. So I was really glad.
The main things we did in September was, firstly, we got a call from the Team Theater, Team Teatret. They wanted to continue the work after the Liberation program, and they wanted to do this new project that was called The Great Gnome Hunt. It was made as an expedition through the Herning Center, where kids could find gnomes through cameras that they sent down through the ground. And what Elsewhere provided for that arrangement was the videos that these gnome experts had to show the kids. And because of the Liberation program, we also got to make more programs with the Jutland School of Singing, who ordered us to do 3 more programs for TV Midwest called The Culture Sprouts. And a friend of Kwang had this company called Skywork. And Skywork is something called rope access, where you hang from a rope on the outside of a building and clean it, and that was basically their job. And Skywork wanted us to help them make some charity videos for children's hospices in Denmark. And also, you had started making your first commercials for Nicklas. Can you tell us a little about that?
The project that we were making here was a 4-part advent calendar, which were set to premiere every Sunday in the coming December month.
We had just wrapped up filming on green screen with The Great Gnome Hunt, and we were finishing that project.
Yes, that was a very fun experience actually, because we had purchased a green screen at the time, and when the Team Theater contacted us that we were going to make this experience for the children out in the Herning Center, It was really insane to use this green screen for the first time, because we used it in the Team Theater's home base with which was their own theater actually, and we set up this giant green screen here. And what amazes me was that the actors during all this was not distracted by all the green that was behind them. And of course I was there too with my own camera, so I filmed a lot behind the scenes of what we were doing. And especially when the green screen part of it was finished and I saw how the editing technique of how to get all the shades of green away and how the program that would remove it worked, it was something that I really also took with me when I was making the My Light commercials as well, and a thing that I also learned a thing or two about retouching different images as well.
We had just wrapped up filming on green screen with the Great Gnome Hunt, and we were finishing that project. We had the Culture Sprouts program that was 3 episodes for television that we had to edit in November and December and finish before January was over. And here in November we also made an extra promotion video for a new theater show from Team Theater called Mombi.
Se hvor dejligt vi har det sammen. Og det har de. Det har de satme.
So from here on out, all time went into finishing the Culture Sprouts program and you starting on this advent calendar for my life.
When I was finished with all the advent calendar episodes, I was really happy to see that people actually liked what I was doing, and I was happy to go on Christmas vacation with the feeling that I had actually produced something well for them. I thought it was something that I could really take with me in my heart and say that this was something that I created.
And so we reached the end of 2020, which was a tough year, but we turned it around and made something good out of it in the end. So that was our 2020, and we are now sitting here in 2021. And now we'd like to show you some sneak previews from our Artetra film about Kwang. Thank you all who has helped us along the way, and all of you who are watching right now. We'll see you next time.
Mit navn er Kwang. Jeg er billedkunstner. Det I kommer til at opleve nu, det er en forestilling, hvor kunst og lyd og lys og farve, det hele kommer til at spille sammen.
They build those walls around you, telling you how to be. I wonder if you've asked to.
Når man er ude, der hvor man ikke kan bunde, så skaber du. Så får du faktisk nogle nye idéer. Det at skabe sin egen univers, det nogle gange så gør du bare nogle ting ved ikke at tænke for meget over, men faktisk ved at have lyst til bare at gøre nogle ting. Jo mere vi er nysgerrige, jo mere udvikler vi os, og vi også skubber os selv i den rigtige retning.
Innovation.